Hello, this is Molly Reamer with 30 Days of Goddess in Bridget's Grove with our monthly practice update for August. So our theme for this month is Nourish, and the goddess we are honoring is Pachamama. And we will come back to Pachamama in more depth in our Goddess Guidance Club video that accompanies this one. So stay tuned for more about her, but basically Pachamama is an earth goddess, and this month of nourishment, I really encourage you to tap in to your landscape, to tune into your landscape, to recognize that our goddess is a goddess that we can stand on, sit on, walk on, touch, feel, draw up nourishment and strength from. She's right here. She's right here. And this is this rhythm of belonging to which we all belong, this great grand web of incarnation. So inviting you to take a nice deep breath and calling your spirit back, calling yourself in, allowing yourself to tune in to the rhythm of the landscape of Pachamama alive right beneath your feet, allowing yourself to tune in, tap into, root yourself in these rhythms, these rhythms of the earth on which you live. What is your landscape teaching you right now? What is alive for you right now? What are you sensing right where you are? What happens when you start where your feet are, right here, right now? And a brief reading. This day is new, and so too are we. We gather together what we have. We greet the sun or the rain, the trees and the wind, the earth and the sky. We remember beauty. We bear witness to the earth's turning, to the suffering and the need, to the joy and the discovery, and we hold it all. We are patient with our own pace. We grant ourselves time. We open ourselves up to this life, to this, the paradox of delight and agony. We watch the butterflies. We sing to the river. We reach out our hands to one another. We are here. So welcome to this month's practice. I'm so glad you are here in whatever capacity. As always, you can go to 30daysofgoddess.com for this month's practice resources. The core practice is always free, so there's a printable sampler pack of resources. There are snapshot cards with an overview of this month's practice. And there are printable prayer books, resources, and things like that, all available for you free at 30daysofgoddess.com. If you would like to be more involved, I welcome you to join me in the Goddess Magic community on Patreon, where we have a weekly live community practice. We have a live monthly circle, Simple and Sacred, that's open to anyone on the 30 Days of Goddess mailing list. And you get a monthly guidebook. And so here's our September guide, or August guidebook for Nourish, and a little sticker set, and also the Pachamama Goddess Guidance Club card is available to you if you're a member of the Goddess Magic community. Also a nifty bookmark and the full set of snapshot cards. So either option works, 30daysofgoddess.com or patreon.com/goddessmagic. Okay, so nourishment. I really encourage you to think this month about what is nourishing to you. To me, a daily practice is something that nourishes my spirit every single day. It replenishes me, it refuels me, it reminds me to return. It reminds me to cross that threshold back into my own heart, to dip my toes into that current of the sacred, to step into the sacred and to remember that I belong, and to breathe the breath of grace that's always there breathing us too, but being aware of that current of magic, that current of the sacred that runs beneath all of our lives. So to me, a daily practice is the perfect way to nourish myself, body, mind, and spirit, and also nourishes my creativity. My whole life is fueled by that commitment to daily practice. So some other questions to consider this month is, what is nourishing you? What is nourishing you? What is nourishing you? What might you let go of? Are the things that have run their course? Are the things that maybe are taking more energy than they are replenishing? What might you let go of? Are you having any fun? Are you having any fun? A practice that nourishes you, a life that nourishes you, needs to have some fun in it too sometimes. What feels heavy or like too much? And I know there's a lot that feels heavy and like too much on the world stage. Politics are feeling really heavy and like too much, but this is more like in your personal life. What feels like heavy or too much? What needs to change? Are you keeping it simple? Where are you finding beauty, astonishment, delight, wonder? Where do you find peace? Is your life the right size to hold you to? I talk about that a lot. We have to create lives that are the right size to hold us to in all of our fullness and our muchness, in all of our smallness and our softness. We need lives that are the right size to hold us to. What does it mean to design my own life, to choose with joy? So I hope this month that you trust in your own capacity to create a life that nourishes you, a life that nourishes and sustains you. And so our companion word really for this month could be sustain. It could also be replenish. We can have these companion words that hold hands in creating nourishing lives. There's also Cauldron Month resources available for you this month. August is traditionally my Cauldron Month. I'm not going to get into the complexity or the details of what a Cauldron Month means. I'll link to some past resources for you. But essentially, the short version is that a Cauldron Month involves taking your life into the cauldron, steeping in your own cauldron of being. For me, it involves a social media break. It also involves a break from my little online game that I play on my phone. It involves a break from some of my normal creative processes and the things I create as externally directed resources. So for me, a Cauldron Month usually means withdrawing and retreating to steep in the cauldron of my own being, savoring the flavor of my own life recollected, and really taking that hot, bright, creative energy of summer and letting it marinate, letting it brew, letting it stew, letting it steep, letting it soak, letting it soften, and then seeing what wants to emerge. Summer feels like a threshold time for me. I often am at the cusp of some kind of big change or big development. Our business often changes shape at this time of year. My Patreon community changes shape, or at least I sense the changes coming for it at this time of year. And it's an invitation into contemplation, an invitation into returning, an invitation into savoring, and an invitation to cross that threshold and then let yourself steep with it instead of rushing ahead into the next thing, rushing ahead to make a decision too fast. But let yourself get this bright vision from summer and then steep with it and see what wants to bubble up, see what wants to come forth, see what wants to emerge from the cauldron. So lots of things to consider there. And so one of the things I wanted to share with you is also some quotes about peace, and I think that can relate to nourishing ourselves and drawing up nourishment. I also want to encourage you to trust that you know the kind of nourishment you need. Like, you know what kind of nourishment you need. You know how to make your own best recipe and live it. And so trust that you know the kind of nourishment you need. So this is a quote from Catherine Mansfield, quoted in the book Meditations for People Who May Worry Too Much by Ann Wilson Schaaf. It was one of those days, so clear, so silent, so still, you almost feel the earth itself had stopped in astonishment of its own beauty. And so Ann Wilson Schaaf goes on to say, when we do stop, many times we look around and realize that we are the only ones rushing around. We realize that the roses, the trees, even the clouds seem suspended in space, and it is as if the universe has paused for a breather. Life has time to experience itself. Often when we stop and let ourselves take in the beauty that is around us, we realize there is much more than we originally imagined. Our eyes begin to see beauty in the cracks in the sidewalk, the crookedness of tree limbs, the cragginess of faces, and even in the colors of cars. We don't have to travel to see beauty. It is everywhere. How much more alive we are when we can feel those times that the earth has stopped in astonishment at its own beauty. So as in terms of nourishment, in terms of being open to the nourishment around you, I hope you will allow yourself time this month to stop in astonishment. May you see beauty. May you pause, wonder, and discover. May you stop in astonishment at the beauty. And may you let that nourish you. And so then there's a quote from Morgan Harper Nichols from All Along You Were Blooming. You are not as lost as you think you are. You are here for reasons to make the most of it. Listen out for the low-pitched song of the bluebird, the rustling leaves, the sound of rain. Listen for any little reminder of life. Feel it call you by your name. Consider the small and nearly missed. Consider the bold, unanimously grand. Consider it all something worth tasting unanimously. Sorry, I said that really weird. You know, sometimes words get you. Unanimously grand. Consider it all something worth tasting and cherishing. Making the most of your days at hand. Consider it a natural thing. If this way of living takes some patterning and getting used to, for this is an unfolding of a novel-length awakening of seeing what has always been calling you. A novel-length awakening of what has always been calling you. Which reminds me, I spoke during one of our community practice lives recently about there's some sentences that take me a whole year to learn. And so I think if we think of our lives as a novel-length awakening, what sentence are you learning this year? What sentence are you learning this year? It might involve your word of the year. It might be something that you're endeavoring to embody, to live, to practice, to experience. And so for me, it's I am the site of my own liberation, but also I'm present with what's arising and I participate in life's unfolding. And I really think, I mentioned this a couple of videos ago, but I really think this at the heart of a devotional practice is to remember, to return, and to begin. To remember, to return, and to begin. But we could also frame it as to remember, to reclaim, and to return. To remember, reclaim, and return. And that's really at the heart of a devotional practice. That's the heart of a mindful life. That's the heart of a contemplative life, of a sacred path, is to remember, reclaim, and return again and again and again. And so there are lots of I had another peace quote to share, also from Ann Wilson Schaaf, this one from Meditations for Women Who Do Too Much. There are many opportunities for peace in a normal day. Waking up in the morning can be a peaceful, quiet time. We can let ourselves identify with the sunrise. Sunrise doesn't happen all at once, regardless of what the papers say. Sunrise is a slow, gradual process of easing into the day. As the night graciously, slowly begins to pull back its protective cloak of shadow, the faint coral lining begins to peek out, backlit by a million stars, ready to bow to the warmth of the returning sun. Night caringly moves off to offer rest to another part of the planet, while the songs of birds pull in the color of morning. The peacefulness of the process of morning is ours for the embracing. I am surrounded by peace if I choose to see it. I am surrounded by peace if I choose to see it. The affirmation that I included on one of this month's snapshot cards is, I nourish my spirit through daily acts of radical joy. And there's some companion nourishment and joy affirmation cards that I'll make available to you as an extra bonus this month. And so anyway, I nourish my spirit through daily acts of radical joy. And then I wanted to share this other quote from Shauna Nyquist in the book Present Over Perfect. Present is living with your feet firmly grounded in reality, pale and uncertain as it may seem. Present is choosing to believe that your own life is worth investing deeply in, instead of waiting for some rare miracle or fairy tale. Present means we understand that the here and now is sacred, sacramental, threaded through with divinity, even in its plainness, especially in its plainness. Sink deeply into the world as it stands, our beloved Pachamama, our beloved Gaia. Breathe in the smell of rain and the sound of leaves as they scrape across driveways on windy nights. This is where life is, not in some imaginary Photoshopped dreamland or AI dreamland. Here, now, you just as you are, me just as I am, this world just as it is. This is the good stuff. This is the best stuff there is. Perfect has nothing on truly, completely, wide-eyed, open-souled present. Perfect has nothing on truly, completely, wide-eyed, open-souled present. Okay, so let that nourish you. That sensation of presence, that sensation of being here for your own life, being present for your own life, may that nourish you. And then also in our guidebook, I have this spell to restore wholeness. And you may follow along with me now. I open my arms to the sky. I call my spirit back. I lay my fingers against my brow and I bless myself with clarity. I lay my hands against my heart and I bless myself with peace. I cup my face between my hands and I bless myself with trust. I lay my hands against my belly. I feel my body on this earth. I return to center. I restore myself to wholeness. So again, we remember, we reclaim, we return. And so this is, did have one more poem from the guidebook that I wanted to share. Let's see. I have a couple of more things I wanted to share actually, but one of them is this about gathering. So here we are. We're in the season of first fruits, the Lamas, or Lunasa, this time of first fruits, of harvest, of making, of kind of gathering in what we've created. And so I think that's why the Cauldron Month concept speaks to me in August. I know some people are, and I love cave time too, and I talk about cave time a lot in the winter, but there's something about the cauldron that calls to me in the summer, because it's steeping kind of right in the middle of all of the creation and the generation and the harvest. But let's steep with what we've made. Let's sink into what we've made. Let's savor what we've made. And then cave time is kind of like the retreat or withdrawal of winter, but the cauldron time is about steeping with what we've created, steeping with what we've made. So I have a poem in the guidebook about gathering. It is a time to gather, a time to evaluate and review. It is time to invite ourselves back home, to settle in, to collect our blessings, harvest our offerings, and look together at what we've made. It is time to dig deep, to throw our backs into it, to finish what we've started, to do what is needed to see it through. It is time to prepare, time to care, time to call back what has wandered, to focus and prioritize. There will be a time for rest, but now is when we stretch ourselves, reaching for what is ripest, what is satisfying and nourishing, what tests our resources and gives us strength. It is time to savor our creations, to lay in stores for the future, to take satisfaction in a job well done and work well tended. Okay, so there's a lot to think about this month, but I really would love to encourage you too to just plant your feet right here on this earth and draw up the nourishment that is around you, the nourishment below you, the nourishment around you, the nourishment within you, the nourishment above you. Let it replenish you. Let it strengthen you. Let it revitalize you. Let it refill you. Remember that there's a current of magic that runs beneath your life. Remember that we all walk on sacred ground. We're all enfolded by the holy. We all breathe the breath of grace. We're all embedded in a network, a web of life, a web of belonging. We're all here right now. And so let that nourish you. Let that sensation of interconnection nourish you and support you. And remember that it doesn't all have to come from you. You can source from, sink into, tap into, root deeply into that support that underlies you. Let that nourish you. These things, the power of the elements, the power of the earth that is beneath us and around us, let us draw strength from that. Let us let these things, these elemental forces, these great powers of the world, as Starhawk calls them, let them nourish us. Let them nourish us, instead of thinking that it all has to come from us, that we have to exhaust ourselves to nourish others, or we have to exhaust ourselves to nourish our creations. Instead, there's nourishment and replenishment around us, and we can source from and draw from that. So may we remember that. And I'm going to close with two poems, one from the guidebook, again, that's available for our Goddess Magic patron. This one is called Expand. Today I sit and watch my elephant ear plant bob in its black pot. A birthday gift from a friend. It has just a bulb. It has emerged to reach for the sun. Today, its leaves nod gently in a quiet breeze, looking as if they are agreeing with one another that yes, this is a pleasant morning. Wide rippled plates open as if both to listen to and to collect the sun. Yesterday's raindrops still cling to the fluted edges of the leaves. I think about this work of opening and receiving, basking in what you can collect of light, and then storing it deep below in the dark and secret spaces where it will nourish and sustain you when the time comes to retreat. May we all be bold enough and brave enough to reach for what we need, to draw power into us, to store our resources well and wisely, so that we always have a reserve beneath to fuel us as we turn our faces to meet the sun. Our willingness to flourish, green, lovely, and irresistible in its yearning to expand. And then a closing blessing from the snapshot cards. And this is one I often need for myself. So perhaps inviting yourself to place a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly, and then receive this reminder as nourishment. Maybe you can let it be easy, really. Rest sometimes. Take delight in being here, in small things, in your family, in sunshine on your feathers. Allow yourself to be nourished and sustained by simple comforts, small joys, and ordinary miracles. They are all around you. Thank you so much for being here. May you experience a nourishing August, rich with opportunities both for creation and for contemplation. Thanks so much for being here. Keep living your magic. Bye-bye.